season 3 counts starts now.
Ooh, what up? No, it is another Tuesday. This is Knockouts and 3 Counts, and this Friday, JCW makes its way back here to the Motor City. Gonna be live at Harpo's once again, and if you've been in any of those shows, you know that shit's about to get a little wild in there. But with that said, we've got a debut episode for you tonight. We've got the debut of Big Al Alice Crowley. We appreciate you coming through.
I am happy to be here. How are you doing today?
Can't complain other than the fact we're freezing our balls off over here in Detroit, but
yeah, it's cold here too. I woke up the other day and there was snow on the ground again, and I was like, this is not right.
Where are you at? You're in Ohio, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not doing too much different than us.
No, not at all.
Okay, so did you guys get it where it was like 70 degrees like 2 days ago and now it's fucking snowing?
Yep, it went from 70 to snowing literally overnight. I was like, what the?
I've said it all the time. Like, I traveling all these places to like do the show stuff and all that. I say it all the time. Like, Michigan's got like the most bipolar weather of any state I've ever been in, and I would have to imagine that Ohio has to be like a close second since we're right next to
it for sure is. You'll wake up one day, like I said, 70, and then snow the next day, and it's like I don't even know what I'm supposed to.
Sometimes on the same day,
wake up and figure out what I'm wearing for the day, if I need a coat or not. Because you literally don't know until the day of.
Sometimes it's in the same day. You get all 3 seasons in the same day.
Yeah, no, you literally, it was, the high was 70 yesterday, and the low was low enough for there to be snow sticking on the ground.
Damn right, man. I'm about tired of it, okay? Winter, you've had your chance here. You know, Detroit and Ohio have had enough. I'm ready for spring and some better weather, so... ready for some baseball weather. But with that being said, like I was saying before we hit the button, you know, I've been following what you've been doing for a long time. We originally first started seeing you when we worked with Circle 6 when they were here in Detroit and in LA WrestleMania weekend. And you know, like I said, the one thing off the rip is you just tough as shit. So I enjoy the way you get down in the ring, number one, with us being a combat sports show as well too. So it definitely fits. But it's been dope to watch you kind of like, you know, ascend the ranks, you know, because you were just kind of starting to get out on the scene when I first saw you like in Circle 6. And I've been seeing what you've been doing through Japan. And I just saw you made the Wrestling Open debut. And obviously what you're doing with JCW. So before we get into all that stuff, you got to tell me, how'd you find your way to wrestling? Like, what got you into it? Were you always a wrestling person? Because I know you started training at like 14.
Well, I mean, I guess you could say always, because it's like all I've ever known, and I'm only 23, so like kind of, but
makes sense.
I mean, it was always on when I was a kid, you know, like it was on the TV. I would watch it with my dad every once in a while, but I wasn't like into it until I went to independent show in Indianapolis. It was called WCWO, and
nice.
I started training in that same building, but one of my cousins had a best friend that was wrestling there, and we ended up going to support him, and in the process I fell in love with it, and I was like, I think this is something I want to do. So then I talked to him, and then he helped me talk to the owner there, and then they got me in training, and I was training there for a while. I trained for 2 years before I had my first official match. I did have like a little tiny, what would they call that? Like just for family and friends. There was not
showcase thing.
Yeah, and it was at Tracy Smothers School.
Nice, rest in peace.
Yeah, when I was 15. So that was my first official match. But yeah, I guess that's how I got started.
Who were some of the influences for you though? Like who would you say, if you had to look at like who Big Al has become, who do you think are some of the people that like influenced what we see, you know, when you come to whatever show it's at you're at in 2026?
I don't think anybody influenced my character at all. I would say my character is me. So I'm my own person, you know, but there's like little things that I have taken from other people, and like obviously my trainers and stuff, like in the ring, in ring things that I do that I've been influenced. But yeah, and I would say my character is me for the most part, but I don't know, like there's like certain moves and things that I picked up from my trainers and things that, that I like to do to pay homage to my trainers. But no, for the most part, everything I do is all 100% me, unless it's like little things that I've seen here and there. But, I feel like that's everybody.
For sure. And I always like to ask that stuff just in the simple sense that, like, sometimes when people will tell you, like, okay, I was into Lita, Trish Stratus, whomever it might have been, it kind of like gives you an eye into like, okay, that makes sense when you look at like, the way that somebody like patterns the way they do their stuff.
Well, maybe like Rhea Ripley, like
Fair.
When I was younger, I loved Charlotte, which I know, but I used to love Charlotte when I was a kid. She was my favorite. I don't know why, but
because she's good. People can hate her as much as you want, but she's good.
She is, but I look at me and I look at her and we're very, very not
polar
the same,
opposite.
But she was, I don't know what it was about her, but I always loved her. I did not care that she was the polar opposite of me, but I loved her.
I mean, and you can see why, because like I said, I mean, I think she gets so much hate, obviously, because of the last name and all the stuff with that. But at the same time, like, if we're just calling a spade, like, she's one of the best they have, male or female, in the whole company. Like, anyone that doesn't see that doesn't know what the fuck they're looking at.
Yeah. I mean, she's been around for a while for a reason, so.
What up, Connor Beals? Appreciate you checking us out. Young referee in the making out here, man. But, I want to talk a little bit about, like you were talking about how early you got into training. Like, talk to me about like where your mindset and mind frame were with that. Because for me, I never got to do anything with pro wrestling, but I started boxing at 13. So like, talk to me about like what that's like as far as where your head was at doing that and doing that as a female.
Well, to me, when I first started it, I think I really just took it as like another one of my sports that I did, because I ran cross country, track, and I dove. And so it was just like another sport added on to my life. Like when I say that, I mean like I would go from school to cross country practice and then be there for 2 or 3 hours, however long practice was, leave there. Then I would go to my wrestling practice, be there for 4 hours. And I did that every single day for at least weekdays. It was Monday through Thursday. And then, and I did that forever. So for me, I just kind of treated it as like another sport in a way. And then whenever the sports went away and I was out of school, I treated it as my job. So now it's like, I don't know. I think because I wasn't actually having matches at that time. Like I was just doing training and going to training and going with my trainers to their shows and stuff. So it was different because I was just training for literally, it was like 2.5 years before I had my first match, before I was, doing it consistently. So it was different at the beginning for me. It was literally like a sport, and then it turned into a job, and that's, how I treat it now, for sure.
And that's cool to hear though, because that's kind of the thing. Like a lot of times, and our show's been around 10 years, and it's like you'll either hear one of two things. Like when you hear about people getting in there young, either they trained with somebody who maybe threw them in too quick or something like that, and then they kind of had to figure it out as you went, or unlearn maybe some of the stuff that you learned early. So to hear that you had like that long in between a first match is good, because I feel like that shows that gives you time to kind of hone the craft, learn what you want to do, learn what you don't want to do, what to do and what not to do. I definitely didn't wait that long before I ended up fighting boxing, but that's a whole
No, you literally hit the nail on the head for real, because that's exactly what it was. It was like, because I was 14, and like that's a child in an adult business. If you think about it, really,
and you hear horror stories about people that get in that young all the time.
Yes,
so that's good to hear.
I mean, my parents stuck with me the entire time. My parents did not leave my side until I moved out of the house. Like they were the best parents they could have been, and very, very, very supportive, you know. Um, but no, it was, yeah, it was rough for me because, you know, everybody else around me is older, and it's still rough because they don't, people think I don't know what I'm talking about, but this year marks my 10 years in wrestling, and, you know, but I'm still going to battle that every single time or everywhere I go, you know, so, but yeah.
But
Yeah.
just like I said, with us seeing your stuff, I feel like your work is eventually going to get to the point where people can say whatever they want. But it's like, you ever heard the saying, like, it takes 10 years to become like an overnight success?
Yes.
So, like you said, I feel like at the 10-year mark is really when you start to like hit your stride. Like, in a lot of ways, I felt the same way, like recently in the last couple years with the show. Like, in the
Yeah.
last 3 years, we've worked with WWE, AEW, UFC, BKFC. We just did Ring of Honor as well. So, like, getting to do all those things, and you've been doing it so long, but it's because you have to like learn, like, okay, I did this and this went over real well. I did that and that didn't go over so well.
It
So
takes
I'm
a
not
lot
going
of
to do that
learning.
shit again. So I
Trial and
truly
error.
feel like it takes that time
Oh,
to
yeah.
really get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm confident in like what I bring to the table. Like, for those that watch the show, know we just covered the Clarissa Shields world title fight that was here. That was cool to get to do. We just shot another big shot out. Hopefully we'll be doing the Ronda Rousey fight
Oh, that
coming
would
up.
be sick.
So, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you get more comfortable with what you're doing in the same way with what you're talking about in your training, to where now I feel like what the Big Al that we're seeing now versus what you would have seen when you got in there, you can see the seasoning and how long you've been doing it, despite what your age might make other people think.
Yes. Yeah. You know, it just comes with time.
You gotta love it. Well, you talked a little bit about your trainers and stuff. You know, one thing that I got to see a lot of in your run was the stuff that you were doing with 440. Talk to me about getting to be around guys like that, and how does some of the people that you've gotten to work with in your run, how has that helped you progress through your way?
Well, I would say my biggest struggle from the start was being like open and like it doesn't seem like it now, but literally I was very, very closed off. I didn't like to sell, like to even say ow, like I didn't do any of that stuff because it made me uncomfortable. And I think along the way I have met a lot of people, and there's one that stands out in particular to me, and it's my one of my trainers. His name is Tom. Um, and there was one time he was eating a caramel apple sucker, and he was just chewing on it, being loud and annoying. And it's one of my number one pet peeves. I
You and my
cannot
sister get along
stand.
well.
I just cannot stand people mouth. Don't eat around me. Just don't, because I just can't take the sound. But he was going to town on this sucker, and I snatched it out of his hand, and I went to throw it, but I stopped myself because I wasn't actually going to throw it. I was just being an asshole. And he was like, "No, throw it." And so I chucked a sucker, and then he was like, "That's what wrestling's about. That's what you need to do. That's the heel that needs to come out when you're out there in the ring." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." So for me, I would say he was definitely one of the most influential people in my career thus far. Just because of how he was personable with me. Because, you know, there's a lot of people who you can talk to in the back and they're not going to be able to connect with you. But then you go and you talk to them in the ring, and they obviously can tell you ring stuff because they know about what they're doing, you know. But with him, it was different. He was trying to talk to me as a person and trying to, you know, actually
Genuinely
help
teach you.
me. Yeah, and actually wanted to teach me. And I, you know, I seen that, and now I can see the little things that he was doing throughout that whole time to help me get rid of that shyness and to get out of my shell. So, yeah, I would say he is definitely one of the most influential people on my career thus far, for sure.
Well, as we talk about, like, we've talked a little bit already about, how you've progressed. One of the things that you did in 2025 that stuck out to me, and I was glad to see it happen, was getting to go through Japan. Talk to
Oh, yeah.
me, talk to me about getting to work in Japan and doing it at such a young age. Like, what's it like? Was it any type of culture shock for you, or like, was it just another day in the office?
Was it a culture shock? Yes. Of course. The roads were completely different. Like, you're walking around, everybody's walking on opposite sides, and nobody speaks English. So it's very, very different than, like, just in walking. It's completely different than it is the States, because the noise around you, everybody's speaking Japanese, and literally the roads are on opposite sides, and the cars are different. Like, everything is different. The food is different. Everything's 10 times cheaper.
That would
Oh,
be
yeah.
dope.
Everything is so much more inexpensive than what it is here, for whatever reason.
Isn't
And
that funny how
everybody,
everywhere seems to be so better priced than
I
us?
don't get it. I don't get it. Like, help me, please. I'm broke over here. I felt
Facts.
rich over there. Literally, I felt rich. I was like, holy shit.
Oh,
I was
oh
feeling
my
myself
God.
over
I
there.
watched the Smashing Machine, that movie that The Rock did on Mark Kerr, and I did they were talking, he said something about how much he was supposed to get paid in one of the Pride fights, right? And I just, in my head, I'm like, this is back in like 2000. I wonder how much money that would have actually been
Oh, yeah.
in back then. And I think he
No.
was supposed to get paid, it was like it's like, I don't know, $3,000 or $5,000 or something like that. And I like Googled what the exchange rate is. They were like, yeah, that's like 10 grand now. I'm like, fucking damn,
That's
dude.
crazy. Yeah, that's nuts. Literally nuts. Yeah. But yeah, no, Japan, it was a lot of fun. Everybody there was so nice. So nice. I was trying to help set up the ring. They wouldn't let me touch it. I was trying to, do a lot of things that you would in America to help, get the show going on. And they were like, no, you do this, you chill. And I'm like, wow, I felt like royalty there. I was like, you guys are so nice. But no, my matches were a lot different compared to what it is in the States, because obviously they don't speak English. So if anything goes wrong, there's not really a way you can communicate to them out there. But yeah, it was a very, very challenging but rewarding experience once it was done, because I was like, I can do it. I can have a match with a girl who I can't communicate with, and it still come off good and still be, just as good as something, if not better than what I could do with somebody who speaks English. Because yeah, I would say that was, if not my favorite match with Arisu, it was definitely top 5, at least top 5, if not my favorite. But yeah,
That goes back to what you always hear people say about like wrestling having like a universal language kind of thing. Like, it doesn't necessarily got to be like, you don't got to speak the same language. Like, you guys can kind of flow out there. So
yeah,
that's kind of cool to hear.
because wrestling is a language. It, like, in itself, like, we're not sitting there speaking English to each other when we're trying to talk about what we're doing. Like, we're literally grabbing each other and like moving each other around, and like, doing like fighting a ghost, trying to explain it to each other, and getting on my phone, typing things into translator to, see how it translates to her, if it would help it make any more sense. But no, it was definitely a challenge, but it was very, very rewarding once my matches were done, because I was like, wow. And because then I get to sit there and watch it and be like, damn, I did that. Like, I did that. I can't believe I did that, But yeah, I was there by myself too. That was the other thing. I was there completely alone, and that
That had to be terrifying.
Yes, it was. It was. But I found another girl there. Her name is Sammy Chaos. And I hit her up, and I was like, and I had never met her at the time, but this is how wrestling is. I'd never met her, never talked to her, never come across her path, and hit her up, and I was like, hey, I know you wrestle, and I know you're here. I don't know if you're bored or how long you're going to be here, but if you'd like to hang out, I would, I'd love to explore the city with somebody else other than myself. And she hit me back, and she was like in the same situation, sitting there alone, didn't have anyone to hang out with. And she was like, yeah, let's go hang out. And sure enough, we got on trains each way 30 minutes to meet each other because we were an hour apart from each other. And then we just messed around for like 4 hours, eating sushi, walking around, saw Godzilla. It was cool. It was really cool. I love how wrestling brings people together. It's very, very weird, but I love it. It's very different.
It's funny. Everybody I know that's gone to Japan, like Masada talked about this a lot when he was on last about when he was in Japan. It's just like the crazy ass stories that people have when they go to Japan. Like he was telling us stories about drinking with Necro Butcher and shit like that.
Oh,
And then, yeah, man, like just
he's probably got some crazy stories.
Holy shit. If you haven't gone back and watched that, go back and watch the Masada episode. There's questions or stories aplenty, I should say, with that one. But it's funny too, because like ironically, that's kind of like how the show got started for us too, in that like I went to WrestleMania 33 in Orlando completely by myself. I had never traveled on my own or anything. I went to WrestleMania and all that stuff all on my own.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. It was like, and then it was one of those things where like, in a way and especially now, I totally feel like that was how God wanted it to happen, because there was so much shit that happened while I was there that I'm like, are you fucking kidding? Like, not only have I never traveled on my own, then you got all this stuff. Like I got there and, first of all, you're trying to figure out where the fuck you're going and all that kind of stuff. I went to go to, it was Jim Ross's show, matter of fact, and we went to go do that, and the guy who was my Uber couldn't speak English, so like he drove around the damn hotel he was looking for me at like 6 times, all while running the meter and shit. And I'm like, bro, I'm not paying you $300 for this fucking thing because you couldn't figure out where to pick me up. Or like when I went to go to WrestleMania, I didn't realize till I left Access that I left my damn debit card there until I went to go buy food, and you're just like, oh shit.
Oh, I knew that.
And then the cherry on top of all this shit is I went to leave. I flew Frontier because, it's the first time I'd ever went completely solo. So I was trying to go as cheap as I could. And then my flight got canceled. So I stayed for the Raw after, and then they shut off my credit card because somehow they couldn't figure out I was in fucking Florida. So it's just one of those things where you're like, but then when you get through it, you're like, all right, well, I didn't have anybody to help me figure this shit out. So, and I survived. So now it's like, traveling on my own is nothing, as I'm sure it is for you, but like it's just funny, like that first time you go anywhere where you haven't been before, it's a wild thing.
It is.
So that brings me to JCW. Okay, first of all, before we even get into that, I gotta know, were you an ICP fan before getting linked up with them? Because I know that I've been seeing the rounds that you personally got the call from Violent J for this. So before we get to talking about JCW and how you got that call, were you an ICP fan at all?
Well, I'm not gonna say yes, just because I didn't listen to them religiously. So I wouldn't say yes, but when they were on, I wouldn't turn them off.
Okay. That's
fair.
What
I mean? It's like one of those things, because like my friends, I have one friend who actually loves ICP. And when I say I hung out with him every single day of the week, it was every single day of the week when he lived next to me. Because we were inseparable. And he loved ICP, and he played ICP all the time. And I'd sit there and listen to it with him. But would I say I was a fan of it before? No. Now, I listen to some of their music now. Yeah. But no, it was Jay who hit me up. He sent me a text message and was like, here's 30 dates. And I was like, 30? Like literally it was a whole
That's dope.
dates. And it was like not like one every here and there. It was like the tour dates. And so I was like, well, I can't say no to a whole tour, but I also had a job. So that was my thing. Like I didn't want to lose my job because
and didn't want to not do the opportunity.
Right. So what did I do? I quit.
Fuck y'all, I'm gonna get famous.
Fuck you guys. Yeah, that's literally what I did. So because there was no way I was going to be able to balance that because I would have to take it was more than a week. It was like 11 days that I would have to take off every single month to be able to go do this. But at that point, they were paying my bills. So it was like, why would I not do that? You know?
I don't blame you at all. And I can't say that I haven't been guilty of doing stuff like that once or twice. Like when CM Punk came back a couple years ago was the first time I got to work with WWE. And they had they're super good about like hitting you up like 2 days beforehand. And I'm like, well, fuck. I don't want to say no to that. Right, and then the worst of it is you're trying to like play it off like, oh yeah, I was sick. And then I happened to find my way into the press conference. And before I walked out of the press conference, there was like 15 motherfuckers that were all like, oh shit. I'm like, well, I guess they know where the fuck I was at now.
Well, I guess they know where I was.
I was sick earlier. I got Crohn's disease. I plead the fifth. So now that we talk about, getting that call from Jay, what was that like for you? And like, what's it been like being out on tour? I feel like that's got to have stories aplenty talking about a JCW tour.
Well, at first it was interesting because I was, I had worked for them before, and there was some issues that had happened at one of the shows prior with one of the 440 guys, and things just didn't go right for him. And so I was kind of iffy about it just because of, what had happened with him. And it was similarly had happened for me, but I had sorted things out. So I got my side worked out, but his just didn't go down like that. And, so, he ended up not even wrestling on the show. And so it was just a kind of an experience. I was like, I don't know. But then once you get to know people and you understand where they're coming from and, their side of the story, then everything starts to make sense. Because there is always two sides to every story. But then I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a chance because first off, they're offering me 30 dates. How many other companies offer you that many dates? None.
And it doesn't seem like bullshit right away.
Right. And they also put their stuff on a show. And, they have it set up like it's a show. And they have, promos. And they have storylines. And they have literally everything that every single other company out here does not have. And I'm talking at least independence wise. And some higher level even, do better than them. But, it's just, I would have been stupid if I said no. In my opinion, I would have been dumb because they're literally handing me an opportunity here. You know what I mean? Absolutely. And they're saying, I'm going to pay you to do it as well. And it was like, well, 2 + 2 = 4. Like, it's my dream job. I want to wrestle. They're offering me as much money as what they're offering me to the point where I don't have to work and I can live off of wrestling and continue to also take other bookings on top of that. So it's like, why would I would literally be stupid because this is what I've wanted, So yeah.
That's dope to hear though, that it's getting to a spot where you're already being so young and being able to just do your thing off of wrestling. So that's dope to hear in and of itself. So I've been paying attention, obviously, for anybody that's been following the show for a while. Shout out to all of you guys who are in here. Says we got about 150 of you guys in here. Make sure you guys retweet, share, all that kind of good stuff. But we've been doing stuff with JCW for a while. Kerry Morton just came through the last time they were there. Our guy PCO that just came over there. So definitely fans of what they've been doing, but keeping up with JCW lunacy, you got to talk to me. Your thoughts on Vince Russo and all the new blood that they've been bringing in there between him being there. You got Big Vito running amok in there. Talk to me about some of the personalities.
Vito's my boy. I love Vito. Vito's my boy. Yeah, we just go and terrorize everybody in the locker room. It's my favorite. Not for real. I'm not.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah, me and Vito, we were tag teaming everybody at Jay's house one time. It was hilarious, just going in on everybody. But
You can get
no,
roasted, and you can get roasted.
yeah, just don't be in my sight. um, but no, I actually love working with Vince. It's actually quite refreshing to have somebody there because there is nobody at these shows telling me like the things that I'm sitting there doing wrong. Like because how am I going to get better if I'm not being told what I'm doing wrong? And he's there and he's telling me everything that I do wrong, and that's what I need. It's like having a parent, don't do this, don't do that, but you need that in, your job. You need a boss, you need somebody telling you right from wrong, and he, stepped up and took that place. And honestly, I don't think they could have picked anybody else better, especially for at least the character side, because that's all he does. He does characters, he knows characters, and he knows how to help develop them. And I mean, there's even people there that I would have never even guessed would have been able to pull off any sort of character or gimmick, and they're doing it, and I'm like, how? And it's because Vince sits there and he works with them, and he's like, that maybe this will work, maybe try this, and hammers it down and helps everybody out, and it's very refreshing, for sure.
So I can definitely see where he would help. But, again, I told you I follow along with what goes on there. And, I also saw something about him leaving shit in your bag. I mean, you just told me that the guy was so cool, but I don't know. I mean, somebody shitting in my bag doesn't sound like something that, like,
Hey,
would make
Vince.
me too happy.
Vince did not shit in my bag. It was Stormy. Stormy shit in my bag. First off, it was a dog. Second off, if he did do that, that would be foul. If it was Vince, that would be foul.
I'm just going to say some of the stories that motherfuckers have told on this show, it would not surprise me to hear that somebody
I don't know who said that. But yeah.
Hell yeah. I had to ask about that because I seen the cover photo for that, and I'm like, dude, that's too fucking funny.
Yeah, it was definitely Stormy.
That's fucking horrible. That's almost even worse. Just fucking.
Hey, I mean, smaller turd.
I know, but the worst of it is you had to leave the dog over there to fucking do the business, which means you're a fucking asshole and we're like setting it up. But
yeah.
Oh shit. So like I said, JCW returns this Friday. What are we gonna see from Big Al here in the Motor City? Do you got any surprises for our fans here in Detroit? Because Harpo's always tends to get gnarly in this motherfucker.
I don't have any surprises, but I do know my number one contendership is still a thing. So I'm coming for that belt, Haley. I'm coming for that belt. That's all I know. So yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about that, because Haley J is another person who we've been talking to about coming on the show because of our friend Miranda Gordy. I've seen y'all scrap a few times. Talk to me about that. And I don't know, man. Y'all two, I feel like just the promo battle alone between you two seems like it'd be fun.
Oh yeah. I love working with Haley, actually. She's one of my favorites to work with just because, we're able to do that back and forth with each other and cut our promos and do all that stuff. That's what makes it fun for me, for sure. Because wrestling, of course, wrestling is fun, and wrestling her is fun too. I will say they did have us do a tag match one time. Don't know if you've seen that, but you should go watch it. But no, we were arguing the whole time. Arguing the whole time. You can't do that better than me. I'm getting in the ring. I'm doing it better than you. Fighting, shoving back and forth. It was so funny. It was one of my favorite matches. But yeah, no. Yeah, I love my storylines with Haley, for sure.
Hey, I've been entertained every time I've seen y'all two mix it up. And Haley, if you hear this, like I said, that invite's still open to come on the show as well. But, something else that you and Haley both did, which I could not ask about with us being a combat sports show, is you got to talk to me a little bit about the power slap thing. How was that brought to you? And what were your thoughts with that, first of all? Because I got so many of the homies that went there to do that stuff. So I just need to know, like, how this all came to be.
So actually, I'm gonna take this all the way back years prior. Um, this was probably the first time you saw me, which was um, LA Mania at Circle 6. And I was trying to get JB to let me do a power slap match at one of his barroom shows.
No shit.
I swear. And he was thinking about it, and he was like, who do you think would do it? Like, because who in their right mind would want to willingly go and up there and get slapped in the face? Well, I don't know if he couldn't find anyone or if he just gave up on the idea, but I think I asked him about it at least 2 or 3 times before, I just gave up on it. Well, then 2 years later, I'm sitting on a tour van on a JCW tour, and I'm talking to Danny Moe, and she's telling me about how Power Slap hit her up, and I was like, Power Slap? Like, the power, like, Power Slap? And she was like, yes. And I was like, how did you get into that? Like, who hit you up for that? And she told me it was Sin Bodhi and blah, 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 whatever. And before I knew it, she had already messaged them, and they had hit me up because I had told her I was interested, and they were telling her that they need to find more people. And so he hit me up, and I was like, fuck yeah, I'll do it. So then we went, we had this combine. They flew us out to Vegas, and we were there for a week. And they, taught us, certain things and talked to us about it and told us, the rights and the wrongs and the rules of it and everything. Told us the things that we can and cannot have in our body. Literally went through the whole thing, taught us how to slap and everything. And they were like, now, if this is something you want to do, let us know. And, maybe we could work something out. And then eventually they hit us back. Something happened with Danny. She was not on it on the first one that I was on, but I think it was like scheduling conflicts or something. But Haley was there with me, and we were both there sitting with each other, working with each other the whole week, leading up to our fights. And then yeah, it came down to the time, and I ended up being first. And I go and I get the shit smacked out of me, and I ended up losing my match, but I didn't fall. It came down to decision. So yeah, fuck you. Came down to decision. Can't knock my ass out. Fucking bare knuckle boxer, MMA fighter, my ass. Anyway, no, I'm just kidding. Totally kidding. But no, no, I went back to the back, and I went straight to Haley, and I was like, I don't remember anything. And she's last to go, and she's like, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. But no, she went out there and she did fine. It was like a complete opposite experience for both of us. But yeah, no, it was lit. I would definitely do it again though. The only reason why I haven't done it again yet is because whenever I was asked to do it again, it was right before my Japan trip. So I was like, I'm not trying to get slapped up right before I go to Japan because I've been working for this for my entire life. Literally. Why would I give
Smart
that
move.
up just to get slapped, So I was like, sorry, no, I'm going to be in Japan. So I went to that, and then they actually had 2 more power slap fights that month. They had 3 in total. So I missed the first one. The second one was while I was in Japan, so I wasn't going to make that one. And then the last one was on Hallowicked. And I was like, I ain't missing Hallowicked. Like,
Can't say that was a bad choice.
So who wants to get slapped? Okay, and that other one was going to be in Saudi Arabia against this woman named Sheena. Fuck no. No, they were setting me up for failure. They wanted me to go to Saudi Arabia to get knocked out, and I was going to be in Saudi Arabia by myself. And I was like, no, I'm not going to Saudi Arabia just to get knocked out when I could be at Hallowicked. No, I'm going to Hallowicked.
Can't say I blame you on that one. I had to ask because that's another thing that stuck out. I mean, she was on The Ultimate Fighter and all that shit. So I mean, like, for you to be able to take the shot like that, I mean, obviously it's different than taking a punch, but I mean, dude, you took some nasty shots.
Oh yeah, she got my ass.
Stood there. So
oh yeah, she got my ass for sure. She fucking mollywalked me. But No, it was a good fight. I would definitely do it again for sure. For sure.
Are you an MMA fan at all?
Uh, not necessarily. I watch it on occasions, but not necessarily. It's not like it is wrestling, for me at
Had
least.
to ask because that's been the one thing that's funny because you would always think, obviously, like coming up watching wrestling and stuff, that like the crossover between like combat sports and pro wrestling wouldn't be there as much. But oh my god, the amount of wrestlers that watch fighting and vice versa
Oh yeah.
is insane. Like we just did the Clarissa Shields fight, and we interviewed her opponent, Franchon Cruz-Azern, which if you guys didn't check that out, go back and do that. But she was telling me all about how she thought Kane and Undertaker were brothers, and how she's a fan of Jade Cargill and Trish Stratus, who just happened to be on the show last week. So please go back and check that out if you didn't get to do that. But it's funny because you see so much of the crossover in that Aaron Stevens from NWA, former Sandow, talking to us about fucking Keith Hackney from like the first 2 or 3 UFCs and shit. So it's like that's one thing I always like to ask about, because the crossover between them is much more than most people think. And then like the respect that fighters will get for wrestlers once they've been there, or vice versa, because I just got to bring out our guy Uncle Chase, who's wrestled with JCW and GCW, came out. We did Muay Thai fights, and he's like, dude, this shit just gets gnarly. So it's always cool to see like both sides kind of be on the other end of it, because I feel like most of the time anyway, you get a new respect from both sides. Like, okay, I kind of get it now.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I mean, my uncle, he owns a bare knuckle boxing MMA gym.
Nice.
And I was gonna do that before I started wrestling, but I didn't. I don't know why. But maybe it was because I started wrestling. I'm not sure. But then when I started wrestling, I did go to that gym, and I was like, I do want to learn, how to defend myself if I'm going to be wrestling, because I don't want to, get in a situation where somebody's trying to beat the shit out of me for real. I want to know how to defend myself. And not too long after that, I broke my elbow, and they were like, you shouldn't even wrestle anymore. So I went to a different doctor, and she was like, no, you can wrestle. You'll be fine. Because I think the doctor that I went to didn't understand that wrestling wasn't real. Because she literally treated it like MMA. Like, she was like, no, it's like you guys are hitting each other. Like, no, you're not allowed to do that. So I think I would not be allowed to do MMA even if I wanted to, just because of the metal in my elbow. But it doesn't mean I can't hit with my right hand, and that doesn't mean I can't do power slap. You know what I mean?
Damn straight.
Yeah.
You'll definitely have to come back and chat with us the next time you get lined up for power slap. Well, I've got a question for you that we usually end our shows with, and the name of it is maybe a little misleading. It's a segment that we call it Locker Room Etiquette, but it's not what you'd think. I want to know, are there anything like as far as pet peeves or things that might annoy you that somebody will do in a locker room, or something that you'd give advice to somebody that's younger coming in too? I'll give you some of the examples we've gotten so far. We've gotten everything from Danielle Monet, Summer Rae telling us don't just sit anywhere in the locker room. Wash your balls. Keep your baby mama out the locker room. Silas Young talking about never think you know everything. Ninja Mac, another JCW favorite, telling us to always stay in the ring. Josh Briggs from NXT talking about the squirt bottle and wrist tape. Bring your own shit. So if you could add anything to those, whether that be something that annoys you or advice you'd give to somebody else, what would it be?
Well, personally, I hate it when people leave their bags out and there's shit everywhere. This isn't your fucking house. Pack your shit up, be respectful, and clean your shit. Make your space look nice. Don't fucking out the bag
have it
because
everywhere.
You're rushing because you got here late. No, be here on time. Find your little space and keep your shit nice and keep it in your space. Don't fucking, and you don't get, if there's chairs, you get one fucking chair. I'm sorry. You get one fucking chair. Like, be fucking respectful. There is too many motherfuckers in this locker room for you to be taking up as much space as you do. Also, another pet peeve is people with big bags. I don't mind with this traveling that we do. I know people got to bring their merch. That's fine. But there is no reason you should be having a 60-inch by 40-inch bag. There is no reason. Absolutely no reason. Not when 12 people got to stick their bag in a 12-seater van. Like, there's no space. There's no space. Like,
I'm just going to take it Matt Cardona wasn't in the van then.
No. See, but that's the thing. I would just ship my shit with how much merch that man probably brings. I just ship it at that point to the shows and back.
You're not wrong.
Because I don't want to deal with that. Just send it to the show, send it back. Because I don't want to drag it. I don't want to lug that around.
No. Hell no, that's got to be a pain in the ass, man. That's got to be a pain in the ass. Shout out to past guests of the show, Matt Cardona, making his way back to the WWE. Well, with that being said, I, for one, am looking forward to the big weekend that JCW has here in the Mitten. I'm looking forward to getting to see it live and in person. We definitely got to link up at Harpo's. If you guys haven't done so, the shows are free. You need to come out, have yourself a good time.
Don't be
Friday
stupid.
night at
Take
Harpo's.
advantage.
See? You heard the lady.
Stupid.
Don't be stupid. You want to have a good time on Friday night? Come out and check out a JCW show. Hell, there's sometimes they got the concerts going. You got the damn wrestling going. I've got 3 people that have never been to a JCW show that are rolling with me this weekend. So it's gonna be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. And once again, I appreciate you coming through. The floor is yours if you got anything you want to plug or let anybody know where to check you out.
My Instagram is Alice_Crowley_. My Twitter is AliceCrowley19. My Facebook is Alice Crowley. And my merch website is AliceCrowleyMerch.BigCartel.com. Thank you so much for having me. I had a lot of fun talking with you today. And we should definitely do this again for sure. And link up at Harpo's for sure.
You got it, man. Like I said, if you're ever in the...
Oh, yeah. We can all link up at Harpo's. Let's go.
Even though she might... Okay, here's the thing that's going to really tell if we can be cool or not. Are you an Ohio State fan?
I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. I'm gonna be honest.
That's exactly the answer I was wanting to hear. Hell yeah. We definitely got to link up this weekend. Harpo's, if you guys are around and in the area, you need to make sure that you guys are in the building because it will for sure be a hell of a night for you guys to do that. If you guys are new here, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button because you never know who's going to be on the other end of this screen. Connor, we will see you there this Friday, my man. Until next time and in the in-between time, hit that button. Peace. Appreciate your time.